Yeah, welcome back to a busy Conception service park where it's all go Flexi Service here. So this is Esapekka Lappi, moments away, just departing. And the noise you can hear in the background is his teammate Thierry Neuville. He's also gone through. Now, Thierry was alluding to an issue. I don't know if Bex has got to the bottom of it or not, but you were here watching service. Have you got any more information about this one? Yeah,
I was doing a bit of ferreting down here when service was going on. The first thing to say is obviously we knew he had that wiper issue. So straight away, you can I can tell you that they pulled the whole front off the car. In fact, you can see that's great. The on the monitor there in your picture, the bottom left, that's the whole service. Look at that.
Tell you what, they work really quickly, these Hyundai boys, don't they? So, that's very impressive.
But in all honesty, it literally took about a minute to get the whole front off the car. It's just a few bolts and the whole front comes off and they're underneath the car. But the point was they took the front scuttle off and instantly started changing the wiper motor. And then, of course, Thierry was talking about the issue that he had with power. He said there was a bit of a miss. So new coil pack, new set of plugs went in it as well. I had a look at the plugs that came out of the car. They looked okay. Sometimes if you've got a cylinder down or whatever, one plug will look significantly different to the others, but all four were pretty consistent across all of them. So yeah, they've changed the coil packs and the plugs, and hopefully that will get to the bottom of whatever the electrical issue was that was causing a bit of a misfire.
And obviously before that, a much more visually easy to see issue for Esapekka Lappi, but that was patched up pretty quickly, and we just seen him go out with no problems.
Yeah, it's really impressive when you see the car come in. The whole front end's missing off it, and pretty much 10-15 minutes later, there was a whole front end rebolted onto it. We're going to get run over here by Grégoire Munster if we're not careful. But yeah, it was. You know, that car was patched up very, very quickly. Critically, all of the bodywork, the front bodywork, is back on the car, so he'll have full downforce again in the stages this afternoon, and it has to be said, you know, it's really difficult to drive one of these cars when you haven't got that downforce working. It just develops so much understeer, but it didn't take very long at all for the Hyundai guys to get that car patched up and send it out looking brand new.
Yeah, and the third of their cars, of course, Ott Tänak. We saw him have that half spin. I mean, he nudged the bank, but he certainly didn't talk of anything wrong with the car after that moment, did he?
Oh, no, he didn't pick up any damage. I just think it's been a bit of a balance issue for all three Hyundais this weekend. You know, we have heard the drivers talking about it. They've just been a little bit tail happy. You know, we never hear them talking about understeer. We do hear them talking a lot about oversteer in the back of the car, just wanting to swap ends on them, and that's what they've been talking about, and that's what happened to Ott Tänak, unfortunately. So I think, like I said, once you get the cars down to Central European Rally on tarmac in a high grip situation, that's where the Hyundais will come alive, and the advantage will swing back in the Hyundai camp as opposed to the Toyota camp.
Yeah, and of course, so we just talked about Thierry Neuville, and Chenny obviously doing a great job of keeping an eye on that service. But let's hear from the man himself. Bex caught up with Thierry just a few moments ago in the media zone.
Thierry, you're a man on the move today, moving up the leaderboard. How are you feeling about the three stages this morning? Because there was a bit of frustration, obviously, from you yesterday, understandably. Better today, though?
Yeah, obviously, I mean, it was clearly visible that, different road conditions today gives us much more chance of fighting for a better result. But obviously, all hopes for good results are gone after that day of yesterday. But we've catched already the two positions we were targeting this morning. So it's all about defending our position now this afternoon. There's not much more we can do. We're in the middle of nowhere right now. So we need to stay away from trouble.
It's interesting to see the changing characteristics of the stages out there today. They were very fast yesterday in those cambered roads. It's completely different today.
Yeah, very much different. And obviously for us the biggest change is the road position, first of all. Also some setup change, which obviously worked better. And then generally I would say that our car on this profile works slightly better. However, it has been tough since yesterday.
You mentioned the setup change earlier and going to something that you're not used to or maybe haven't used before. Can you give us a bit more detail on that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we know that we have 7 damper sets we can choose for 3 cars. Obviously every driver gets 2, and then there's a 7th set, a spare set. With obviously we prepared something we never used and we never could use, but I thought like it was worth trying it. So we brought it here, and finally I tried it today, and I cannot say if it's much better than yesterday, but generally it was working okay today. I think it's related to road position, different kind of profile of stages, and maybe the car improved a bit.
What was the mindset behind using it then? Was it like, let's just throw anything at it and see what we can do?
No testing, no pre-event test. It doesn't. It was worse to bring three same sets. So usually with one you have enough, maybe two. So we tried something else in case of, and obviously yesterday it wasn't really working well. Today it's working a little bit better, but like I say, it's not only the car setup.
Finally, tyre choice for this afternoon, because we did see a bit of fog, a little bit of moisture in the air out there. What are we expecting? Is there more rain coming?
I don't know.
No?
I don't know. We need to keep a close look on the weather, how it's evolving. I mean, we all know it's very abrasive out there. But we also know that, in those kind of conditions, the soft give an advantage. But for how long? It depends on the roughness of the stages.
I'm really glad you're making that choice and I'm not this afternoon. Good luck with it.
Thank you.
That's a very interesting interview there with Thierry. Can you give us quite a lot of information about this base setup and certainly these damper issues that he's obviously been able to try something different today?
Yeah, so basically when they leave the factory, they've got 6 sets of dampers, 3 cars, 2 each, and they are set up as you would want them for the rally, roughly where you'd have them. And so you can sort of swap between dampers. You can come into service, tuck a different set of dampers on it to try and make it suit. And then you've got the seventh set, which is a spare. And for whatever reason, Thierry decided he was going to try something different, and that's how you learn. And ultimately, whether or not he thought it worked or it didn't remains to be seen. But I think it's more an inherent problem with the way that the car is engineered for these types of surface. I don't want to keep going on about the car being tail happy on fast gravel rallies, because it will go the other way in a high grip situation. That's when the Hyundais really work, and as I said, I think it swings back in favour. The chassis is more reactive in high grip situations than the Toyota is, which works a little bit slower. Yeah. So I think once we get to high grip situations like Central European, particularly if it's dry, that's when these things will absolutely come alive. Yeah, and interesting to hear from Thierry. He's kind of achieved his target for the day, which is obviously 4th place. It now puts him at the moment 1 position behind his chiefest championship rival, who's also his teammate. So now the onus is on Ott to try and get back up ahead of the 2 guys ahead of him. Let's hear from the Estonian, because it's an interestingly poised rally right now.
Ott, we've been waiting for this day all week. Everyone's been talking about how tough and tricky Saturday was going to be, especially with managing tyres. How do you think you fared out there this morning?
Yeah, obviously managing tyres was not the case this morning. It was quite a low grip condition and a bit wet in the last stage as well, so not really the case. And all around was a good loop.
Talk to me about just the small mistake we saw from you, which was a half spin on the middle stage. Was that just too much pace into that section? Was it really slippy? What caused it?
Yeah, we had a hard spin, so lost the air and then spun the car, so had to reverse, but no, after this everything was fine, so no harm done.
You talked about it being not so abrasive out there this morning. That's going to change this afternoon, of course. Tyre choice for this afternoon, bearing in mind that there might be a little bit of weather around. No one's really telling me what the forecast is. Everyone's keeping a bit tight-lipped. Is it going to be a bit of a headache with choosing tyres for this afternoon? Do you feel a soft's going to come into play at all this afternoon, or is it too abrasive for that?
Difficult to say. We will see.
Well, you've got years and years of experience. Surely you can tell me a little bit more than that.
Yeah, maybe.
But you're just not choosing to today.
I'm not speaking to you at the moment.
It sounds like you're speaking to me right now, just not giving me very much. Why is that?
What do you mean?
You're speaking to me right now, but you're not giving me very much.
Because I honestly don't know. Obviously, like you said, weather is around, and I actually haven't speak to engineers or to weather guys yet. So first we have a lunch, and then we see after.
I'll let you go off and do that then. Thank you, Ott.
Yeah, Ott's still playing his cards very close to his chest, it's fair to say, this weekend. I know there was a lot of issues with Seb earlier in the weekend, but Ott too, not having a great deal to talk to us with this weekend.
Yes. No, I'm just joking. But I don't know. There's as you said, there's an awful lot going on in the world of motorsport in general. Yeah. Whether or not that's what Ott's referring to there, or whether or not he just wasn't in a talkative mood. No, I don't know, but he certainly didn't give us much there, did he? Yeah. But we saw that half spin as well. That was a difficult setback for him, wasn't it? But of course, Esapekka Lappi, we saw his car leave with that front end patched up. Let's hear from EP actually before we move on, because nice to hear his thoughts after a tricky morning as well.
Esapekka, you've been a bit like Santa Claus out there this morning for the fans because you've left quite a bit of the car out on the stages, which I'm sure someone will be delighted to find. How difficult was it, though, making your way through the next two without the front end of the car?
Yeah, I mean, I was more worried that I will break the radiator or the cooling pipes over there. It's fairly now sensitive spot, you know, to... yeah, if there was like some loose rocks, I needed to kind of brake and then go off the brake to make sure that the front stays high. And yeah, I needed to do some tricks to make it happen, to survive here. And yeah, on the fast for sure, the aerodynamics are not really impressive at the moment on the front, so was a bit of understeer over there. But yeah, anyway, it felt kind of worse than yesterday. Even, I don't know, I still struggle with the rear axle kind of a lot to find some grip.
I mean, what can be potentially rectified at service to get you the sensation of grip out there?
I have no idea. We tried something yesterday. For sure, the afternoon will be a little bit easier because it's there should be some line what to follow. And the car was a bit better yesterday afternoon, but anyway, it still was difficult, and I believe it will be as well. But we will try something.
OK, that's good to hear. The weather seems to be changing out there today. We've seen a bit of fog, a little bit of drizzle in the air, a bit of moisture. Is that going to mean that the tyre choice this afternoon maybe not as straightforward as a normal afternoon choice in these type of rallies is?
Yeah, maybe, but well, I need to check. I haven't checked the forecast now. But yeah, normally the surface is very abrasive, so you need hard tires. Either it doesn't matter, you know, what's the temperature, because it's just stripping off the rubber. But I need to check. Yeah.
Good to see EP keeping up the spirits. This is moments ago. Ott Tänak, of course. That's the last of the Hyundais to leave service. So it seems like a fairly seamless run out here from conception. I'll tell you what, Chenny, while we've been working hard down here in the service park, I believe Molly and Kiri are down on the beach. Let's see what they're up to.
Yeah, thanks so much, guys. Thanks for keeping the service park warm while myself and Molly just thought we'd have a day at the beach. No, we are midway between the stage that I'm doing, which will become stage 8, and the stage that you're doing, which is stage 9. Busy morning out there, Molly. Disappointed for you, I know that you didn't get to speak to Seb because you were waiting for the day that he was going to speak.
The last thing he said yesterday was, I look forward to speaking with you tomorrow.
Well, he also said he loved you, but we'll skip past that.
Yeah, but it's great to see, even though, you know, he's got some agenda with what he's doing, that it's not personal towards us. But it was a shame to see him have to retire for the day, absolutely.
All right, well, we will be up here with you, taking you through some of the interviews as well. The boys will be back down in Service Park. They're going to be also speaking to Trenzio Testoni as well. But we just wanted to give you sort of a bit of a weather update. So as we were just having a look at it, now we were just down at a beach, which is about half a mile that way, and there were a few spots of rain. And at the start of your stage as well, there was talk on one of our groups about a few spots of rain. But to be honest, it is fairly clear here, but there is heavy fog coming up behind us at the moment. Who knows what it's going to do, because I am absolutely appalling at judging the weather. All right, so Sébastien Ogier, let's focus in on that for a second, because of course he was in the championship title fight with Thierry Neuville, with Ott Tänak, and it's not really gone as he'd want at all, particularly in Greece. And then we move on to here. It was my stage that I was on that he had the problem, and it's simply, he said, it was just a mistake, really. He hit the rock, and that's what happened. Let's have a look in.
We also heard from Adrien Fourmaux, who came in, who'd just driven past him, that there was a massive rock that he unfortunately hit and broke the front suspension. So that was very disappointing for Seb.
Very disappointing indeed. Now, this literally was a matter about a K from the finish line. And that's where he was.
It's very undramatic when you watch it there, isn't it?
Yeah, really undramatic. And also there was some other journalists up. Well, they managed to get up there just a bit before we'd finished the stop line, and they actually helped with getting Sébastien out, because if there maybe had been 3 or 4 more fans there, then the chances are that he might have at least got it to the end of the stage. All right, well, this is us. We managed to get ourselves from the stop line up. This is while the WRC2 cars were sort of running through the lower down cars. We managed to get ourselves up through the stage, which was a bit of a mission because we had to do a bit of as Molly, I'm sure you know this. Yeah. I'm very rarely out here, but as you'll know, if you need to get into the stage, it's a bit of a forest climb normally.
It is, and you've got to also be really careful because the stage is live, rally cars are coming, so you have to have your eyes and ears open while you walk up there. And yeah, here we can see a car actually coming past almost full speed.
Now, they were just basically trying to make enough repairs to get themselves out of the stage. It wasn't particularly dangerous, but a rather precarious place to be. So he obviously wanted to get the car out of the stage so he could at least get back for the day quicker than waiting for the car to be pulled out there. They did as much repairs as they could. It wasn't really possible, I don't think. I mean, I know Bex Williams has finally managed to get an interview with him because I didn't run after him as quick as I thought I could to get that interview. But he was just basically doing the repairs that he could to get himself through the stage. So that's what unfolded in the middle stage of today. We are heading into an afternoon loop. Molly will be at the end of the last stage. I'll be at the middle one. Julian Porter at the first one. That's going to all happen this afternoon. But Bex Williams spoke to Sébastien Ogier once he got back to service. So let's listen in and hear exactly from his point of view what happened out there.
Seb, difficult morning for you out there. We saw what happened from the TV coverage, but from your perspective, talk us through.
It's pretty simple. There was rocks on the line on the braking points, or on the line, at least very close to the line, and something I didn't have in my notes. And on this braking point, the problem is when you are on the brake, you're fully loaded, and then just a small impact can make a big damage. Or actually, it wasn't a big damage, but it's just a bolt which was broken. So just a broken bolt, that's it. But then when one wheel is out, obviously I cannot make the next corner. And then we are stuck in a ditch because it was very soft in this place. But anyway, I think we didn't even have the bolt to fix it. And anyway, it will have been a couple of minutes to fix it anyway. So that's the way it goes, you know. I think the frustrating I have at the moment is just that I couldn't make anything of these last two rallies where I had, one of the best speed I had since long, and very dominant in terms of speed, but doesn't help anything if you don't bring it home.
Yeah, and that's such a shame because even with everything that happened yesterday, you came out this morning really fighting. You took quite a bold tyre choice to try and make a difference, and then this happens. You can't catch a break at the moment, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's. I have been lucky during my career to experience a lot of high, but I also had some down, and I know that you have to. It's a couple of difficult day to go, and you have to use them to come out even stronger.
Of course, absolutely. Coming here, it was looking difficult in the drivers' title fight anyway. But with everything that's happened now, would you say that the drivers' championship is done for you?
Yeah, it looks like for sure. Again, at least on this side, I'm not even really disappointed because it's just became a target, like we say, maybe 2 rallies ago, and it wasn't really one. So I think, you know, many people have told me I would have not done really a favor to the championship if I win it, not competing the whole season. So in that way it's positive, but at the end of the day, yeah, I'm a competitor. As long as the opportunity came up, I try to fight for it. Like I say, I'm pleased with the speed I had the last 2 rallies. I think I really did everything I could, but in the same time, let's say, one time on the team side, I would say in Greece with this turbo issue, and here on my side, we both done some mistakes which were too costful.
So what happens now is
Costful is existing, maybe not, I don't know.
The focus switches now then to the team game and the Manufacturers' Championship. Not that hasn't been the focus as well as the Drivers' Championship.
Yeah, that was my main target this year, to help the team for that. Unfortunately also on the Manufacturers' Championship we are not in a great position. But at the moment my teammates are doing well this weekend. I really cross my finger that they can carry on like this, and it will be nice to keep it alive as long as we can, and I will definitely do my best to bring again some more good points to the team.
Fantastic interview there from Bex Williams with Sébastien Ogier, covering what happened to him in the middle stage of the morning loop here. I think lots of things that he talked about. Listen, on your screen now are the championship standings as they were as we were heading into this round. Thierry Neuville had a 34-point clearance over his teammate Ott Tänak, and Sébastien Ogier was in third. Elfyn Evans 55 off the top there. As Seb was sort of saying there, it was a target, but it wasn't a target. He never set that out this season. So as much as we were enjoying the rivalry, and it was fantastic to see him back in the fight, things were definitely not a fair game, let's say. Thierry had a better opportunity for a points haul.
And it did also mean that we got to see Seb a lot more than we thought we would this year, and that's also been great. But yeah, like he also mentions, 2 big mistakes, first in Greece and then in here, does put him pretty much out of the running, which is disappointing for everyone. But this is rallying, and we can see that this happens quite often.
Yeah, and as he said, you've got to bring it home, and that hasn't quite been the case. However, do not fear, Super Sunday points are up for grabs for Sébastien Ogier, and he will be going for them because it is all about that manufacturer's title race as well. They are 35 points behind Hyundai. At the moment, the rally is in the hands of Elfyn Evans. Do you want to listen to that interview she did? Bex Williams. Bex Williams did with Elfyn Evans.
Elfyn, it's the rally lead and some fantastic times out there this morning in difficult conditions. We've seen fog close in on that final stage. How was it all out there for you this morning?
It's not a lot of fun when you're driving in fog, I'll be honest. Nobody enjoys it. I think you have to try and pick your way through, and yeah, it seems like listening to the co-driver is a lot harder when you can't see where you're going. So yeah, it's not easy, of course.
Kalle just told me that you're more attuned, obviously, when the visibility is lower. You're listening even more acutely to your co-driver, and he said you're picking up even more mistakes in the notes. Then, do you find that?
I don't know if it's more mistakes, but I'm struggling to remember. If he goes 2 or 3 corners ahead and you can't see where you're going, it's very difficult to take it all in. But yeah, it's just the nature of how it is in the fog, I think. It
was a great run through though on that final stage. You must be pleased with that performance.
Yeah, pretty pleased, but it's so difficult to judge how you're doing. When it's like that, you feel hesitant so many times, so you really don't know how well you're doing.
We talked last night at Meet the Crews about how good you are at looking after tyres, and Kalle kind of said you and himself weren't as good as Ott maybe. What's it been like out there? Are you happy with the tyre choice you took, and what were they looking like at the end of the loop?
Wait a second.
Now that Mārtiņš Sesks is gone, you can answer that question.
Yeah, happy enough with the choice. Of course, we had a lot more moisture in the stages than we expected, really. So probably we could have afforded maybe one more soft, possibly. But I think if things had been as expected, then you'd have definitely needed the 4 hards.
The difficulty now is we know the stages are abrasive out there this afternoon, but whether it is going to rain, do softs come into play at all in your mind? Let's say it's raining, we get news that it's raining, do you then take some softs in the package?
Yeah, I think then you, of course, have to consider something, but we have to review the information and see where we are.
There we go now, Elfyn Evans heading out back onto the afternoon loop of stages. And the question that Bex was trying to get to the bottom of has been answered. He took 4 hards and 2 softs there. Tänak taking 6 of the hards, Munster and Fourmaux doing 6 as well as Sesks. The rest of them, Lappi, 4 and 2. Actually, Sami Pajari taking 3 and 3. A lot of that, Molly, representative of road position.
Yeah, but also it looks like a bit of a gamble for Ott. He's got to do something now this afternoon, taking the 6 hards. We know that it was quite muddy. We do have fog rolling in. It's getting colder. We do know that there is rain expected, but a bit later on. But we also know that after this first pass, the road is going to get more abrasive in places. So it's interesting to see that Ott has decided 6 hard. That's what I'm going to try and do this afternoon, whilst others played a bit more on the safe side. Yeah,
very interesting. Just to touch on what Molly's saying about this fog rolling in, it is absolutely bizarre. This heavy set of fog comes over and the temperature changes completely. It gets so cold. It is freezing out here just for a minute as this fog sits above us. All right, now the stages are not far away. Molly, your stage is probably about...
Yeah, another 10 minutes south of here, yeah,
okay.
but they're all fairly close together.
So Molly's stage is the last stage of the loop, the stage that you've just seen, and the stage that I'll be on, stage 8, is actually about 5 to 8 minutes up this way. So the fog should be sort of hanging over the stage, but it does see. I don't know actually. The fog is moving over there. We will keep you updated on where the fog goes if we can follow it. Now there are plenty of interviews that Bex Williams has been working hard to get. Of course, these were recorded earlier on in the media zone. Then the service happened, and then somehow myself and Molly came to the beach. That aside, let's listen in to the interview with Kalle Rovanperä.
Yesterday you weren't so happy with the characteristics of the stage, as you said they didn't really suit your driving style. Today we've seen a different Kalle Rovanperä out there, so these stages more to your liking, yeah?
Yeah, I was expecting to enjoy today's stage a bit more. For sure it's still tough for the tires and yeah, to keep everything in good condition on these roads, it's surprisingly tricky. A lot of tire wear and stuff, so it's not easy to make the whole loop fast.
Lots of factors came into play, it seems, this morning, because the weather started to close in on you guys. There was some fog out there, a little bit of drizzle as well. How difficult were the visibility conditions for you?
The last one was surprisingly bad. Middle one was okay, but last one we had proper fog for quite long time, and then yeah, even I think proper drizzle. Like I felt the ground was wet in some places in the middle of the stage. With hard tires, it's always quite slippy.
Yeah, it sounds like an interesting one to be able to deal with. And then I guess, especially when the visibility is low, it's absolute full reliance on the notes, even though you're obviously using them anyway. But in those conditions, how much more highly tuned are you to what Tione is saying?
Yeah, for sure. At that point, you start to listen to even more, because normally you of course count on your memory and your visual, but at that point you need to just count on the notes. So of course it changes. And yeah, always in the fog you also find much more mistakes from the notes. When you are coming to the place without really confirming it with the eyes, then you find always the small things which are not correct.
I'm asking everyone this question, I'm not getting very far with it, but how much of a challenge is it going to be with regard to tyres this afternoon, given that there might be a bit of weather around? Is it going to be a full hard scenario? Do softs come into play at all, or is it too abrasive for softs this afternoon?
Really difficult to say yet. We still have luckily few hours probably until we need to choose, so let's see. I think the weather can change a lot in the mountains, especially like we saw today. We didn't really expect this in the morning loop, but it was still there, so let's see how the weather will be.
Well, Bex, all the questions have been answered now. It was 4 hards and 2 softs that Kalle took. All right, well, we won't take up all of the time on the beach. We'll go and try and find some sun somewhere. Right, the boys have headed to Toyota. So, PK, did you expect those tyre choices?
Yeah, perfect timing as well, Kiri. Just as we were talking about that wonderful interview Bex got with Seb Ogier right on cue. That is his car back into service. I mean, that just sounds so frustrating, that one little bolt, doesn't it, Chenny? Just sad to see the car here as he was having, as he said, 2 rallies in a row, fastest man out there, and kind of nothing to show for it, or not much to show for it.
Really frustrating, because absolutely the pace was there, and he mentioned about how it was loaded up when he was on the brakes. Obviously, he's got all the weight on the front axle, and that wheel is locking almost as he's slowing it down, and that's what he's talking about when everything's loaded on it. If he was going flat out over that and wasn't on the brakes, if he was on the power over that, the chances are that bolt wouldn't have failed, because it was a relatively inconspicuous bit of bedrock on the apex of the corner, wasn't it? I think we can actually see that onboard. Here we go. Just look on so we come through this left-hander, and then on the apex of this right-hander, you'll just see, there it is, bang. And that's all it was, but he's on the brakes already to try and get the car slowed down to the left. So you've got all the weight transfer onto the front axle, and that front right just completely loaded up. A huge amount of force goes up through the suspension in that instance, and that bang just caused the bolt to fail. As I said, if he wasn't on the brakes, he'd have just sailed over that, and I'm sure it'd have been absolutely fine.
And we were just saying as well, isn't that the crazy thing about our sport? There's an 8-time world champion and I guess multi-millionaire, it's fair to say, down and dirty under the car, getting himself getting that car back out there. It's a crazy thing about our sport, and it's sad to see that, sad to hear him actually kind of throw in the towel in that Drivers' Championship. He said it was a long shot. The girls just talked about it. But let's focus then for them on the Manufacturers' Championship. They're already thinking about that. They've just got their 2 men out there leading the way. It's going to be a fascinating fight now this afternoon, isn't it? 17 seconds between the 3 guys. And I guess Ott Tänak now is the man to keep an eye on. And again, those tyre tactics are going to be coming into the fore this afternoon, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, Ott Tänak has got to do something. And had he not had that spin, I think I surmise he lost between 8 and 10 seconds with that spin. So you can cut that gap down to 7.5 seconds for the top 3, right? So, look, for me, when we look at the tyre choice that's gone out, you've got Evans and Rovanperä have both opted for 4 hards and 2 softs. That says to me that potentially they're expecting a bit of weather, and if that rain does come, then the softs will certainly help them. And as Kiri and Molly were saying, it's cold up there, and when the temperature's down, you want the soft tyre to come on early on. Ott Tänak has gone for 6 hards, which I think is a pretty aggressive strategy. If it stays like this and it stays dry, then potentially that will swing in his favour. But we've been talking about tyre tactics about all weekend, haven't we? And for me, I still think that I'd probably be going 4 hards and 2 softs if it was me, because the softs didn't look too bad at the end of the stage. Yeah, we're going to have a little word with Terenzio Pirelli a little bit longer. Of course, there's one Toyota man we haven't heard from yet. Sami Pajari, once again, his 2nd time in a Rally 1 car, having a terrific weekend. Let's hear from the Finn now.
Sami, very different stages today from what we saw yesterday, and different conditions out there. How have you dealt with the fog and the moisture out there today?
Yeah, it has been quite tricky, but in a different way as yesterday. So quite a lot of new things with this car to face, and yeah, a lot of learning. But I think the main thing is like when it's starting to be more and more tricky, like the conditions, then I'm not feeling so confident. So then it's just so easy to lose a little bit time here and there. So no any big dramas other than that.
Which was the toughest stage, would you say, this morning out of the 3 that we've seen?
Yeah, clearly the last one. I think just the first one in the morning I was just too cautious, like I was trying to save the tires for the rest of the loop, and then the second one was already quite fine, and then the third one was just so foggy and started to rain, and I didn't know how the grip will change, so I was just backing off a bit.
Managing the tyres is something that is learned over so many years as well by drivers, isn't it? How are you dealing with that at the moment?
Yeah, so far it has been quite fine, so I cannot really blame that. But that's the other things where the confidence is there, still about to come.
In what kind of areas would you say?
It's simply like when there are more like grip changes, and the fog was quite demanding in some places, and so then it's just, it don't need to be then only like a half a second per kilometer is quite little margin, I would say, but it comes so easily when you are just not fully confident, so it's small things.
Yeah, we're just watching Seb's car then off the flatbed. It's a sad sight to see, but what a joy he's given us over the last couple of events as he's trying to keep this championship alive. But yeah, great to hear the thoughts of Sami Pajari, wasn't it, Chenia? We talked about it a bit in commentary. The guys, you know, oh look, he's lost time to Thierry Neuville there, and you know the Belgian's been doing the job for 13 years. He's on his 2nd outing in a World Rally car. Got a bright future, hasn't he, that young man?
Oh, absolutely, incredibly bright future. He's naturally very, very quick, and to be frank, and I was saying in commentary, his job isn't to be fighting with Thierry Neuville and everybody else. His job is to learn this weekend, and I think that's exactly what he's doing. For me, Sami Pajari has done a spectacular job throughout the entirety of the weekend, and I really hope, no, I don't know, but I really hope that Toyota continue to find a way to keep him in the seat of a Rally 1 car, because the more seat time that he gets in the car, the quicker he will be, and ultimately that's what rallying is. Rallying is 100% a confidence sport, isn't it? And the more confidence that you've got and the more seat time that you've got, the quicker you will go ultimately. So yeah, I think it's great for Sami Pajari to be around.
Yeah, we've come over to Pirelli, so we got Terenzio to say. Terenzio, come on in. We've just been talking tyres already, so that's perfect timing. Yeah, it's a fascinating one out there. I mean, what a rally for you guys. I mean, we've been talking about tyre preservation, tyre wear, but you've got to be really proud of these Pirellis this week. It's been quite impressive.
Yeah, no. Actually, we are quite happy how our tyres working, especially the soft, but also the hard. Okay, this morning and also last night, the weather has been not really dry, and then this let the tire to work even better. And then, so at the moment we are quite happy. Now we need to see in the afternoon what happened. We know the driver, they choose a different, a different strategy. Tänak is with the full hard, but also we need to look also Rovanperä and Evans, which they were too soft.
I was going to say, referring to what we were talking about earlier, I think regardless of whether or not the rain comes, which is maybe why they brought the soft tyre actually did stand up remarkably well. We know how abrasive it is. We know how brutal the stages are. The hard tyre is probably the one to be on, but to take the soft, I mean, a few years ago, this stage would have absolutely eaten a set of softs, and they didn't look bad at all. So for me, I don't think it's a bad strategy going with 4 hards and 2 softs. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, no, it's not bad. The question is the weather now, because if it's still like this and then it's not any rain coming, to have a fresh tire on the last stage, 28 kilometer, will be for sure much better. So we need to understand how the weather it looks, because the first stage is a shorter stage, 15 kilometer, and then I fully agree, too soft and too hard. It's for sure is better. And if it's coming some rain, it will be also better for the last one. But if it's not the rain coming, so we need to see which is the best balance.
What about temperature as well, Trenzio? Because obviously the lower the temperature, that switches the soft on a lot quicker, doesn't it? And compared to last year, it's still quite cold up in those mountains, isn't it? And there's quite a lot of low mist, a bit of precipitation in the air. Will that help the longevity of the soft tyre a little bit, the temperature being down?
Yeah, no, that will be helpful for the soft. We know also the tire temperature from last year is a bit different. So this year, like you said, is also much low. But for me now is only question about the weather.
Remind us as well of the allocation for the weekend. There was always a lot of concern when we, even right back to shakedown, when we start the weekend with, the certain amount of hards, certain amount of softs. There's always that concern, are they going to have enough hards to last the weekend? Just remind us what the allocation was, and has that become less of a concern because the soft has been lasting a bit better this weekend?
No, but before the rally, everybody agree with the allocation with the 12 hard. It was enough tire, but we need to be also clever, to manage. And then, but like I said, with the rain and the humid last night and today, they change a bit the strategy, and then they let the soft to use more during the rally.
Well, thanks very much for your time, Terence. It's been great. Good luck for this afternoon. Let's hope it all stays together. I think we can go to... let's hear from Adrien Fourmaux. We haven't heard from the M Sport players. Thanks very much, Terenzio. Yeah, let's get back to Bex of Adrien.
Adrien, first of all, talk to me about how happy you are with the tyre choice that you took out there this morning, because it has been the big talking point leading up to Saturday.
Well, I'm really happy with what we have done with the tyre choice this morning. I think it was risky to take more soft, especially for the last one, but definitely the first one was still damp and humid for the first 9K. So then I'm really pleased with what we have done this morning.
And the last stage, even though abrasive, you did get a bit of weather coming through on that stage. How did it affect it?
Well, to be fair, it was the fog. The most important thing is we didn't see the corners. So first pass for us in that stage with the fog wasn't so easy. There was a little bit of drizzle, but to be fair, it wasn't affecting so much for us. A bit slippery, but it was still okay. I think I was still more struggling with the cleaning than the rain. So it's been a good morning for us, and we continue to push for the afternoon because there is still position to gain.
Exactly, you are still pushing for position out there. Could it be, though, that it's an interesting tyre choice this afternoon as well as this morning?
Yeah, depending how much rain we get in the stages, then it can be a gamble with the tyre choice. So, but still the surface will be really abrasive, so we know that. So it's going to be interesting to see what the other guys take.
You know, we've seen from the M Sport documentary, More Than Machine, that your Meteo guy, Henrik, gets a little bit stressed sometimes. How good is he at predicting what's happening with the weather this afternoon, do you think?
He has been really good this rally, so no complaint about him. And so let's see this afternoon, but he's quite calm. He says he knows what he's doing.
Excellent stuff. That's good to hear.
Thank you.
Great to hear the thoughts of Adrien Fourmaux, and how many times are we going to say, if only he didn't have that 1 minute time penalty. He's been impressive again, hasn't he?
He's got a bright future. Adrien, for me, look, I've said it so many times this year, this sport is in your head. you know, and Adrien Fourmaux has had a different attitude, and M Sport have taken a different approach to him this year as well, and it's absolutely worked. Everything is very much more relaxed. Just get in the car, drive it, don't worry about the people around you, and straight away we're seeing the results coming. He's been given a little bit of responsibility, hasn't he, and he's risen to the challenge, and for me, Adrien Fourmaux doing a fantastic job, and for sure, you know, I don't want to talk about it too much, but on the driver market, he's turning into hot property, isn't he? And yeah, regardless of what happens for the next 3 events, whether he finishes or not, or the next 2 events, I should say, Central European and Japan to come, Adrien Fourmaux, for me, wins the award for most improved.
Yeah, and I believe as well, he's got his teammate Grégoire Munster just about, was it 4/10 of a second behind? I think that's correct in saying. So again, he's fighting for position with Greg. He had a fantastic yesterday, Munster. It just slipped a little bit today in terms of his pace. Let's hear how he was feeling when he spoke to Bex a little while ago.
Grégoire, very different day in comparison to yesterday. How are you feeling about your performance out there this morning?
Yeah, for sure it's not as good as yesterday. Struggling a bit more. In the morning I was not really on it on the new stage. Then it was a bit better in the second one, and then a lot of fog in the third one, which yeah, I didn't feel well. So I just thought let's not risk anything, and we go again in the afternoon.
Yeah, but that's the difference now maybe between the Grégoire Munster of this year and the Grégoire Munster of last year, and the progression is that you know where to pull back now.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we are doing our own race, so yesterday we were feeling great, so we went for it, and today is a bit more difficult, but we'll try to work towards a better afternoon.
I've been talking to all the drivers about the tyre choice this afternoon because, you know, this morning we thought maybe it'll be dry out there this afternoon, straightforward, hards all round, but given the fact that there is some moisture out there, is it going to be a headache now?
Yeah, exactly. In the morning it was already a bit damp. In the second and third stage we were not expecting a moist condition, but that was how it was. So everyone went for hard, I think, but it was a bit of a, I don't know if it was a good choice or not. Same question mark for the afternoon.
Yeah, it's a shame for Greg, wasn't it? That pace was so good yesterday. What do you think's just been missing for him today?
Oh, I think it's the difference in stages. I think the stages worked for him yesterday, and of course he's relying on the experience he got from last year. Certainly that helped him yesterday, but today there's nothing wrong. Listen, PK, there's nothing wrong with the M Sport Puma. The car's working well. I don't like saying it, but Grégoire hasn't stepped up to the mark today, has he? And by his own admission there, he's got to find a little bit of pace in himself. He hasn't been comfortable in the lower grip, higher speed stages, and I think he's been punished a little bit by that. But he's got to adjust up. He's got to dig a little bit deeper and take that step up the ladder now. He has had good seat time this year.
Yeah, and it's great to see the 2 M Sport boys fighting there for position in 5th. But of course, we do have 3 M Sports here this weekend. The unfortunate Mārtiņš Sesks in the hybrid-free Puma. Remember, back this weekend after his starring roles in Finland and Latvia and of course Poland. But had to restart today. Been out there first on the road. Let's hear how he was feeling when he spoke to Bex earlier on.
Martin's the first experience of being first on the road out there today. Tell me what it was like.
Yeah, it's really difficult because first of all you don't see any lines, you don't have any lines before you. So yeah, but with us hearing the first time with no experience, it's not easy to predict how it will be. And then yeah, of course it's much more loose. And these uphill sections where it's loose, of course with no hybrid it brings no like. Yeah, it's really not easy, but we are here for the learning, and yeah, yesterday was a bit of different learning, so we were trying a bit different strategy today.
Everybody's been talking about this day all week, especially after last year and the tyre wear that was out there, and everyone, you know, put hard in the packages this morning. And then, of course, the weather throws a bit of a curveball on the final stage. You get fog, you get a little bit of rain. What was it like tyre-wise out there?
For us, the rain wasn't the issue. It was just a small mist, and yeah. But anyway, if you look at the tires, of course they're not looking that bad at the moment, but. Yeah, we had 2 softs in the morning, or just for the 2 stages on the rear, and you've seen that they were degrading quite fast. So, yeah, I think there wasn't any other choice.
What are we hearing about the weather this afternoon then? Because we weren't expecting, and maybe the meteo crews were expecting a little bit of moisture out there this morning, but certainly we hadn't heard of any of it. What about this afternoon?
It wasn't expecting. They weren't expecting in the morning, but yeah, for the afternoon it looks like it
bring something in.
So a tyre choice then is going to be a bit of a headache this afternoon, do you feel, or not?
Maybe a little bit, but I wouldn't say there is much of other choices here at the moment.
Good luck out there. Thank you, Mārtiņš.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a real shame, isn't it? We didn't get to see the real Mārtiņš Sesks out there. It was a real interesting sort of scenario there. We know what he can do on these familiar stages of Poland and, of course, Latvia. This was going to be an interesting challenge to see what he can do with a clean sheet of paper. So it's a hard luck for him to not see that.
Yes, but at the same time, hard luck for us. I actually think for Mārtiņš, what's happened this weekend is a good thing, because to open the road at an event like Chile is a real challenge, more so than perhaps other events, you know. So he's learned so much today. That's what he is here to do, to learn. He's not here to win a rally. He's not here to stick it on the podium even. He's just here to learn. You know, in the non-hybrid car, he was always going to be on the back foot anyway. Probably would have been opening the road regardless. So for me, Mārtiņš has done a good job. He's shown immense maturity. And look, yes, it was a shame what happened yesterday, but it's all part of the learning curve.
It is indeed, but of course we came here this weekend, the focus very much on that championship fight. Thierry, remember, he had a mathematical chance, didn't he, of even sealing it this weekend. That was unlikely, but it's taken one step closer. It's like his teammate Ott there in third place. It's going to be interesting to see how he approaches this now this afternoon. I mean, he said he's kind of achieved what he wanted to get to fourth, but how do you see this one unfolding over today and tomorrow now?
Thierry Neuville, and we've been saying it all weekend, you know, he's just got to be there on Saturday, just got to be there on Sunday. Fourth or fifth is enough for Thierry. He doesn't need to go out and try and reel in the top three ahead of him. If he did that, frankly, I think it would be a bit foolish, because he doesn't need to do that. He doesn't need the points. He's got enough of a buffer. And the way that the championship points are allocated now with the whole Saturday and Sunday thing, Thierry just needs to be in fourth or fifth today, fourth or fifth tomorrow, and frankly, if he can get third or fourth quickest in the power stage, that's a healthy haul of championship points. Whether or not you are a fan of this new championship point system, you win points by being consistent. That's what Thierry Neuville has done all year. He's been opening the road, finishing third or fourth, and in some cases capitalising on the mistakes of others to find himself second, and in some cases winning rallies, right, last time out. Ultimately, it's about consistency. Thierry Neuville has been ultra consistent this year. That's what he's got to continue to do. If he can finish today in fourth or fifth and tomorrow in fourth or fifth with some points on the power stage, his championship campaign remains absolutely on track. It's not about winning rallies, it's about winning championships.
Yeah, let's not forget, it was only once this year, wasn't it, Sardinia, where he failed to get any points on Saturday. It's absolutely about that. Meanwhile, the girls have been out there working hard, and before we get back to see what they're up to out there stateside, of course, traditionally, we'll send Kiri out to give us a little lay of the land tour of what's the best to see around the Conception area. Here's another look with Blau's Tours.
Welcome to Chile, the next stop on our tour. And where better to start than the Andes? This place is an adventure seeker's paradise with the towering peaks, the epic views, the stunning trails and the rugged terrain. For the thrill seekers out there, whitewater rafting on the fast-flowing rivers is an activity not to be missed. The unbelievable landscape of the Andes is the perfect setting. But there is more, so let's keep the adventure moving. As we move from the wondrous nature of the Andes, Chile has something else to offer, a vibrant and buzzing city. This is Conception, and in particular, the Bay of Conception as well, which is a port that links Chile to the rest of the world's economy. Some of the most important resources for Chile are shipped out of here, including copper, fish, and wood. There's such stark contrast from the beautiful nature and this industrial city. And of course, it's all surrounded by water. Conception, one of those unique cities that has the hustle and bustle of the industry that you've just seen, and then back to the nature, the glorious nature of the beaches that surround the city. And the beaches are much loved by the tourists that travel here due to the activities that you can do, from surfing and of course horse riding. As you move around the city, you find loads of little hidden gems such as this, which is a beautiful fishing town. Now, Chile as a nation is well known for its fishing, in particular salmon and trout, and in more recent years, the Chilean sea bass. And even the local dogs come down here for a spot of fishing as well. Now, early morning, it's a massive hustle and bustle with all of these boats heading out to do their work. Now, we couldn't finish our tour and leave Conception without showing you the BOB River. Conception's part of the BOB region, and this river is one of the most majestical landscapes that you will encounter, stretching over 380 kilometres. It flows from the Andes Mountains right the way through until the Pacific Ocean. This country really is magical. Well, that was just a little bit of an insight into what Chile had in store in terms of the glorious landscape. But the thick fog is rolling towards the stage which I'll be on, which is stage 11. Molly, are you ready for the next 3 stages and your stage end, which is the last stage? That's pretty much the pivotal stage, actually.
It is, and it certainly was last year. But just as we've been standing here for the last 30, 40 minutes, the fog has just really rolled down towards the coast. You know, I think the weather this afternoon could be unpredictable and difficult to say what's going to happen out there.
Yeah, and it really is interesting when this fog sits heavy above you. I've put my coat on. It does get incredibly cold out there. All right, well, 3 more stages for Saturday to go, and it is going to be very interesting to see how these stages have developed this afternoon. Myself and Molly have got to get busy and get down to the stages, but for you, it is the first of the stages this afternoon with your commentators around the world.
Welcome back to the action. We are steamrollering ahead into the afternoon stages here in Chile. And I tell you what, it is going to be an interesting afternoon for many, many reasons. Obviously, points are up for grabs this afternoon. And we will see some interesting conditions. We saw fog earlier on 2 of the stages, causing, well, just visibility issues, as naturally fog would. But some drivers reacting a little bit better to that than others. And of course, we've been waiting for the tyre choices to come in for this afternoon, and Pirelli have confirmed now what the drivers are heading out on for this afternoon. And for some crews, there are some soft compound tyres within the package, which is what we were wondering during the midpoint service break. Would the softs come into play, given that there has been a little bit of weather around? We'll go into it in a little bit more detail in a few moments, but a look at where we're heading. Back to Pelham, which is where we kicked off this morning. The first section of this stage new until we get to the final 6 kilometres of stage, which has been familiar, of course, for the drivers from last year and from 2019 when we were here in Chile for the first time. Now, this will be the second pass